Welcome to Your Health and You on the CJC online platform. I'm your host for this evening, Janelle Powell. And you know, when you see me, that means it's the fourth Thursdays, which means that we're looking at, yes, we're looking at child's health. So today we'll be diving into a very critical topic. I think we've all been there, done that. And if not, you are truly blessed. Measles, a highly contagious disease making a comeback in many parts of the world. Join us as we uncover the risks, symptoms, and the vital steps that we can take to protect ourselves or communities from this preventable yet potentially deadly illness. Stay tuned as we talk about your health and you. But remember to like, share, and subscribe. I see that our regulars are pouring in. They're sending their well wishes and good evenings in the chat, and you can do so too right down below. Your Health and You is a production of the Central Jamaica Conference Health Ministries Department, designed to present on health related topics by sharing evidence based information and naturopathic remedies. Your Health and You is aired every Thursday at 7:15. So we have different focuses on different Thursdays. So on first Thursdays we look at general health. On second Thursdays we focus on men's health, and on third Thursdays we focus on women's health. You know what we do on fourth Thursdays. We focus on children's health, and mental health is our focus on fifth Thursdays. Remember, that this program is for educational and informational purposes only, and it doesn't constitute providing medical advice or professional services. So before you embark on any health related information presented in this series, please seek advice or counsel from a doctor or healthcare professional. Before we dive into our topic for today, let's enjoy a reading from the book Counsels on Health by Ellen G. White.
The Outlook.
The world is out of joint. As we look at the picture, the outlook seems discouraging. But Christ greets with hopeful assurance the very men and women who cause us discouragement. In them, he sees qualifications that will enable them to take a place in his vineyard. If they will constantly be learners, through his providence, he will make them men and women fitted to do a work that is not beyond their capabilities. Through the impartation of the Holy Spirit, he will give them power of utterance. Many of the barren, unworked fields must be entered by beginners. The brightness of the Savior's view of the world will inspire confidence in many workers who, if they begin in humility and put their hearts into the work, will be found to be the right men for the time and place. Christ sees all the misery and despair of the world, the sight of which would bow down some of our workers of large capabilities with a weight of discouragement so great that they would not know how even to begin the work of leading men and women to the first round of the ladder. Their precise methods are of little value. They would stand above the lower rounds of the ladder saying, "Come up where we are," but the poor souls do not know where to put their feet. Christ's heart is cheered by the sight of those who are poor in every sense of the term, cheered by his view of the ill-used ones who are meek, cheered by the seemingly unsatisfied hungering after righteousness, by the inability of many to begin. He welcomes, as it were, the very condition of things that would discourage many ministers. He corrects our erring piety, giving the burden of the work for the poor and needy in the rough places of the earth to men and women who have hearts that can feel for the ignorant and for those that are out of the way. The Lord teaches these workers how to meet those whom he wishes them to help. They will be encouraged as they see doors opening for them to enter places where they can do medical missionary work. Having little self-confidence, they give God all the glory.
In a similar way, let us too give God the glory through prayer. Please bow your heads and pray with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we are grateful for another opportunity to learn. You have given us a lot of guidance and a lot of experts, and you have surrounded us with the remedies that we need to make sure that our health is taken care of. And so, with a program like this that provides us the opportunity to talk about things that affect us, things that affect children who are the most precious among us, we give you thanks. I pray that all of us who are part of this program leave learning something that we will take with us for the rest of our lives, arming ourselves with this information that we may never know how it may come in handy. I pray that you be with us for the rest of this program and allow everything else to go absolutely smooth. Be with our guest as he comes. Please clear his mind and please allow him to share all that he has to share with us in a way that will make us leave more strong than we came. Amen.
Celebrations, integrity. As strange as it may seem, integrity is an essential component of health. You can understand the role of integrity in health by making a parallel between honesty and integrity. An honest person may do good or bad, but will speak the truth about it. Acting with integrity, however, is adhering to a moral conviction that won't allow you to do wrong. So integrity means not only saying what you think must be done, but also acting according to your convictions. Integrity also plays an important role in helping us avoid problems. How many addicts started going down the road to ruin because they ignored well-known dangers? Possessing integrity will help you decline offers that could destroy your life. At one time or another, everyone has failed to meet the standard of full integrity. Some have failed so miserably that they caused someone else to be hurt. But despite the inevitable challenges, never forget that your integrity has the power to change your health and your life.
So, here are some fun facts about measles. Or do I call them fun facts? No, they're probably not very fun, but I'll say these are things that maybe you didn't know about measles. So, since the measles vaccine was introduced in 1963, ongoing measles transmission steadily declined until the disease was declared eliminated from the United States in 2000. Due to the strength of its immunization program, Jamaica was able to successfully eliminate the poliomyelitis in 1982, measles in 1991, that's 9 years before the US, and rubella in 2000, while the last case of congenital rubella syndrome was recorded in 1998. Before widespread vaccination, measles caused an estimated 2.6 million deaths worldwide each year. And not only that, measles has remained common in many countries, and millions of people are affected by the disease each year. And now it's making a resurgence in places that it has been eliminated from due to anti-vaxxers. So, here to talk to us a little bit more about measles is our very special guest, Dr. Morton Frankson. Dr. Frankson was born in Kingston, Jamaica, and lived in all parishes of Eastern Jamaica. And now he lives in Manchester, Mandeville. He attended the St. Mary High and Kingston College High Schools, and he is a medical graduate of the UWI and of Loma Linda University School of Public Health. Dr. Frankson also worked as a general practitioner, public health program evaluator, and manager in both Jamaica and the United States of America. He later became chief medical officer with the government of the Turks and Caicos Islands from the years 2004 to 2006. He also served with the University of the West Indies as a health research scientist, lecturing in epidemiology, biostatistics, community health, and medical humanities. And that was from 2006 to mid 2023. Dr. Frankson currently serves Northern Caribbean University as campus physician and the Director of Research and Statistics since mid August 2023. He also serves as the current president of the Bioethics Society of the English speaking Caribbean and as the current chairperson of the National Mirror Committee, volunteering with the Bureau of Standards of Jamaica. He is the founding instructor and consultant to the Advent Health Volunteers Association. Dr. Frankson is married to Myris Yvette Frankson, and together they have one child. Remember to post your questions in the chat as we welcome Dr. Frankson into the conversation right after this brief message.
Chronic diseases such as heart disease, cancer, stroke, and diabetes are responsible for 7 of 10 deaths among Americans each year and account for 75% of the nation's health spending. Although sometimes related to economic, social, and physical factors, more often it's behaviors such as tobacco use, poor diet, physical inactivity, and alcohol abuse that lead to poor health and contribute to chronic disease. That's a fact. But there's hope. A focus on prevention in our families, churches, schools, and communities will not only improve the health of Americans, but also save a lot of money. A report from Trust for America's Health concluded that investing $10 per person per year in proven community-based programs that promote a healthier lifestyle could save the country more than $16 billion annually within 5 years. So let's live a longer and healthier life and save some cash.
So I have my notebook out because we know how it goes on this program. I must let y'all know again, I am not a medical professional, I'm a civilian. So when I come into these programs, I'm learning just like you are. So Dr. Frankson is here to give us the lowdown on measles. Dr. Frankson, welcome.
Greetings. Hi. Hello,
All right.
everybody.
And they're hearing their numbers, you know.
I
I went
cannot
on the
believe it.
stream and listen, I'm always surprised. I think we have 32 now, and it's gonna increase by the time we wrap up our conversation. So a lot of our regulars are here to hear a lot about measles. So we're gonna start off with the regular questions, the expected questions. What is measles?
Okay, measles is one of the most contagious viruses that you can encounter. And if you are in a room with somebody who has measles, even if you're at the other side of the room, you might as well just consider that you probably got exposed to it. It circulates very fast in the air, and the person, especially if they're just getting the virus themselves and shedding it, they shed this virus even before they start to have symptoms. And that's an interesting thing because it's really one of the most infectious viruses that we have. Much more infectious than, say, COVID or the flu. So very interesting. As you know, I am very young. So I remember the 1950s. And in the 1950s, everybody got measles. Everybody. All the children got measles. In fact, measles been going around for a long, long hundreds of years, thousands of years. And in fact, back in places like China and so on, they used to have measles parties to just make the children get measles and get over it, because if one or two, a few would die, especially the ones that are malnourished. But most people, after they recover from it, they would be immune for a very, very long time. Some countries, however, don't have a few people who are malnourished. Some countries have many people who are malnourished and even many babies. And that is when measles now is not just a little contagious infectious disease that gives you rashes and fever and so on. But with that malnutrition, your immune system is compromised. And
Okay.
so you can actually have a virus that normally most people just get over turn into giving you a pneumonia. And that's how a lot of the babies who are malnourished die. If they have malnutrition and measles, it's a deadly combination. A lot of children can end up in the ICU and even dead because of the rip roaring anemia, not anemia, rip roaring pneumonia that happens. That really they have no reserves to fight because they're so malnourished. But the antibodies that your body produces are proteins, and if
Mm-hmm.
you're protein energy deficient from starvation or borderline nutrition where your mom is trying to make ends meet. So as a baby, she wants to buy a nice dress. So she saves up and she cuts down on the richness of the formula that she should feed you. And
Oh.
instead of giving so many scoops, she gives half of the amount of scoops of the powder in the thing to the water. So it still looks like a bottle of milk, but it's really half strength milk. And a growing baby needs the full strength milk. They whatever. Or if breastfeeding, they come off the breastfeeding too early, so they don't get a rich breastfeeding milk, and then they go on to these things that they can barely afford. And then now, when they're not getting enough protein and energy, and so then they don't have the enough amino acids from the protein to go and help the bone marrow and so and the other parts of your body like the other lymph nodes and so on to make these antibodies that we need to make to fight off things like the cold and measles and we used to say another thing we used to say a lot in Jamaica is mumps. We used to see, I remember in my days as a boy, used to see men walking around with a towel tied around their jaw because these glands, the parotid glands, salivary glands here, they got so swollen and it's painful. They can't swallow, they can't open their mouths, etc. And they get over that. But problem there is that the the virus doesn't stop there. So the virus goes to other tissues that it likes, like the testes of the men, and then it damages the testes so that you can't have children. If you're a young person who got mumps, you could get better with fine, but if you don't, if you're unlucky, you can get your damaged. Your testes could be damaged, and so you'll be infertile for the rest of your life.
So there's a correlation between mumps and measles?
They happen around the same time, and therefore they combine the vaccines that can actually attack these measles, mumps, and German measles, which is called rubella, um, which actually is another one that is kind of deadly when you are not nourished well. All of those things now with the MMR vaccine, we don't see cases of those things anymore in Jamaica. And this is just a wonderful thing because the idea behind a vaccine, is that it should actually be prepared as a biological thing where you produce antigens um, that you can now administer in a way that it will, so it's usually through an injection, that it will stimulate the production of antibodies so that you get either the antibodies being produced or you get white blood cells that are produced that are producing what we call cellular immunity
Mm-hmm.
against these particular viruses and so forth. These bacteria sometimes as well. And
So is it
we
a long-lasting vaccine? Do we have to top
yeah,
up?
yes, it lasts for quite a while, for lifetime. And the thing is to get you past getting these diseases as a child when your immune system is still developing. To get some of these diseases as an adult is not as it could be challenging, especially if you're a pregnant adult. But the real way to get that controlled is to get a lot of children If we could get 95% of our children vaccinated or more, then and we know that that alone will shut down the spread of the disease across the country.
Mm-hmm.
Because now, when the virus goes for one person, it most likely will now hit upon somebody who was immunized, and the antibodies from that person will match the virus and destroy it. And
Okay.
so it won't be spreading. But when you have low uptake of these vaccines, then you're not going to have what you've heard the term herd immunity. You're not going to have that herd immunity, that vanguard that goes. And most likely, when a virus comes, it's going to hit somebody who is already immunized and has the antibodies waiting to just shut down the virus.
Mm-hmm.
And so the virus will actually, now, if it isn't being stopped, it will do its job of using our body's cells to make itself. And then it makes so much in the cells that the cells burst, and then the viruses come out and spread into the bloodstream, etc., and come up to the lungs. And when you can breathe, you breathe it out, and then you breathe it, and somebody else breathes that air and gets the virus, and that's how it spreads.
So if I'm
But
immunized as a child, the chances of me getting measles as an adult is
very,
reduced.
very low, very, very low.
Okay.
Now, if you go and have a lifestyle that invites something like HIV/AIDS, then a lot of things that you were immunized against, sometimes it's not. HIV/AIDS depresses the immune system so much that that's a special case where the things that normally wouldn't kill anybody now starts to come back to you and go after you and might even kill you. As with HIV/AIDS, your immune system is completely depressed if you're not controlled properly. But of course, we know today when people are cooperating and getting the right treatments, their bodies we can keep the damage down very, very low. And it almost looks as if they're cured, but they're not really cured. They're just well controlled. And so they're moved up to a better risk level. We, however, would not give that vaccine to somebody who has HIV/AIDS because they might not handle it well. They might overreact to it and might get a complication from it because of their compromised immune system. But we depend upon a good, bouncing, robust immune system to answer the call and produce antibodies. And
Mm-hmm.
if it doesn't do that, we can put these folks into danger.
So in the case of someone with HIV/AIDS, what is the treatment plan, if not the vaccine?
Well, that's one of the risks that they have. We have very little that can help them except to make sure that they keep um, their on their treatment medications and they control the HIV/AIDS and get out of areas where they think this is concerned. So this is another reason why we should have a large number of our population immunized, so that the herd immunity would be a shield for those folks who are not as fortunate enough to go line up and get the vaccine themselves. You see?
So so what is the difference between measles and chickenpox? Because usually there's a tendency to get them mixed up.
Well, it's a whole different virus, chickenpox. But measles gives you a fine rash that itches like crazy and high fever and just makes you miserable and sick as a child. As an adult, you get it. If you get it, you get it more severely.
Mm-hmm.
Chickenpox, on the other hand, gives you blisters that form little pus like things in the center and break down and eventually as you scratch them, they break down and then the liquid just drains out and you have many of these bumps all over your body like a sore.
Mm-hmm.
It also can scar the skin because of the amount of those little blisters. But most people just have such a good, what we call the stem cells in your skin, just come and replace the damaged cells after you get over the bout. And gradually, as a child, most people, their skin just hardly shows any evidence that they had any of these things. Of course, the stem cells in your body, in your skin, are less active as you get older and older. And we really hope people will get immunized at whatever ages they need to get immunized so that you don't have to be having any of these problems when you're older.
Amen. Amen to that. Because we all I had chickenpox as a youngin, and if I was miserable then with no responsibilities and no work to
Mm,
go to, no school to go to,
mm.
imagine no.
I had all of them too. I had all of them.
You had
I
measles and chickenpox?
Oh yeah, I had measles. I didn't have mumps though, and
Oh,
and even if I had, sometimes you can't even sure if you have some of these things, because you have what is. You remember in COVID when they said a lot of people are getting COVID and don't even realize they have it because
yeah.
you have it below the stage of symptoms. They call it subclinical.
Hmm.
So a lot of people who think that they never got COVID actually got COVID, but they got it subclinically, and they've developed the thing because most cases it's the body, most people, a lot of people actually the body. That's how they deal with COVID, and the same for the flu, the same for measles, same for mumps, chickenpox. You have a certain amount of people who will not even show one symptom,
But
and
they will be able to
they
pass
are
on.
fooled. They're fooled into think that they did not get the thing, and so they are sometimes the ones who spread the thing the most because they don't feel sick, so they were mingling the most with people,
Right.
and they're spreading it a lot. But they swear that they're super people, but they're actually super spreaders, and they actually um, if everybody gets proper immunization for things. The other thing about a vaccine is that it should not cause potential life-threatening diseases. So um, the vaccines for measles and so forth, we have studied those for such a long period. We know that they're very safe, right?
Mhm.
The vaccines for COVID, um, to tell you the truth, we have studied the biology behind all of those vaccine processes very, very long too. And we're waiting for something to do that. So I heard people say we rushed that vaccine. We actually didn't rush it. We actually had the technology for a long time waiting for different purposes. But when the pandemic came out from the Wuhan lab leak, it was repurposed quickly to that. That part was rushed. Um, but the technology on which it was based was actually quite around for quite a while. They looked into for several how to apply it to several things, including how to apply it to controlling cancer and all of that to in cancer patients. So unfortunately, the public doesn't know those details, and the public then reacts and thinks that you're experimenting on them and this and that. But a lot of that is not true.
And this
But
background information is very insightful to have because
yeah,
it builds a certain confidence in the technologies that we have today to fight diseases,
hmm
because we are very cautious about the things that we put into our bodies, especially now because I don't know if it's just me, but a
hmm
lot of persons are becoming more health conscious, more deliberate with the things that they're putting inside their bodies, what they're eating, what their health habits are like. And so it is somewhat understandable that there's a similar reservation or hesitation when it comes to a vaccine that is new in your lifetime and
hmm
not in their eyes tested and true. But
hmm
like you said, this is technology that has been around for a while, but was adapted to suit the needs and the requirements of whatever the virus is.
yeah, and you're going to find that happening again with new pandemics if they occur. Let's God forbid that they should occur, but we live in an imperfect world, so
Hmm.
some of that is going to happen again. Um, and this is why these programs here are so important because they pre-arm you with a basic understanding, and you're able to digest other kinds of information that come up quickly. You're able to digest it and you know make better sense of it
Right.
than when it just rushed upon you because you were not in touch. It looked like it's all brand new and everything. So I thank whoever is producing these programs. I thank you for that. And you're doing a wonderful public health service to keep people abreast. The other thing to remember too is that both the vaccine and if you get the disease, you do better in both situations if you have been taking good care of your health and you're well nourished and
Mhm.
balanced living and so on.
What
Because
does that
now
mean,
you,
nourished?
You
What does that
eat,
really mean?
eat a balanced diet at a temperate amount of times, say about 2 times a day if you're a person who sits down a lot, or if you're a hardworking person in the field, 3 times a day. You need a little more calories. You make
Hmm.
sure that your diet has enough vegetables, enough protein, enough starchy foods, and enough of the a little bit of oil that you need, especially those healthier oils. But keeping very active as well as getting enough sleep at night, etc. All the things that makes for all these acronyms that we come up with, like celebration and new start and
And
creation and all those things. Because those folks, for example, were the ones who did well in the last pandemic. Less of those people died. Some of them died, So some people have a way to say that those people who were healthy and virgin, none of those died. That's not true. We did have a few, but far less of them died than folks who were not who were intemperate.
hmm.
And so we have to be just telling the truth. We have to tell the truth rather than trying to sensationalize it. Um, they they have going to have a few people who this is more than their body can handle, and we just want to keep that number to just a few by having many people keeping on learning and practicing living healthily, and including even checking up with their health professionals, from the dentist to the podiatrist to the physician to whatever, health
Hmm.
educators, nutritionists, all of those people, so that you can learn from these wise people and you can keep practicing what is will put you in a good advantage. And we have such blessings like counsels on health that we read from today, counsels on diet and food, medical ministry, ministry of healing, all those books. And we have other books now that are more recent that are in line with those books. We have courses, we have certifications. When you do all of those things, you're actually now immunizing yourself in a different way, not with chemicals now, but you're immunizing yourself now with knowledge and with good practices and so on. And so it all works together. None of them is a magic bullet, but together, what a force, what a wall they build around you. That your chances that you will be the ones getting better the quickest and can be able to take care of the other sick people around you.
Hmm. So that is very important to keep in mind. And that kind of covers the naturopathic segment of the show. Like what are things that people can
Mhm.
do naturally to help combat symptoms or fight symptoms of measles. But before we get into any possible expounding on that, I wanted to know if there are other complications outside of death that are associated with contracting measles.
Yeah, you can get it's a virus, so it will get to different parts of the body. It can give you pneumonia and
Right.
it can give you swelling of the brain and death. Um, it can make you, if you're pregnant, it can make you have your child earlier than you should have it, preterm child, we call it. And you have a low birth weight child, which is more likely to now end up in the incubator in the ICU, the neonatal intensive care unit, and more likely to get other problems, etc. Just the problems of being in hospital, because in hospitals you get exposed to germs that you wouldn't be exposed to normally out in your home, because you
Hmm.
get exposed to the next person's germs, etc. Even though they try to keep it clean, they can't really keep it. Germs are so small, you don't know. We don't know when you miss the spot, you know,
That's
and
true.
and so on and so forth. You can try your best to reduce it by using good hygienic practices, and so gloves and whatever else, sterile techniques and so forth. But you can't do them, so you're going to make a mistake and miss some of them sometimes. And those are some of the more serious side effects that um, you can be worried about when somebody has those. I think I mentioned swelling of the brain, right?
Yes, you
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
So
because
pneumonia,
those.
swelling of the brain, and if
Mhm.
pregnant, then it
And
can
the
cause early labor.
early pregnancy, yeah, early labor. Those are some of the more concerning ones. But like any virus, when you get sick, you can get nose problems, or runny nose, etc. You can get your gastrointestinal tract. gets
So if I say,
overloaded with the virus and you can get diarrhea and even
mhm.
vomiting and things like that too. So those are some of the other things that, you know, are evident, but you can handle those usually. Yeah. Sorry, you were saying?
So if I find out that I have measles, or if
Mhm.
if I'm sure I have measles, what is my first step? Am I going to the hospital first, or
I
am
would
I
say,
isolating?
I would say if you're not sure, go to the hospital or have somebody visit you and diagnose it for you, all right? And then you get out of the area quickly because you don't want to be spreading it among other people.
Hmm.
But the other thing is, if you're a child in school, stay home because you also will be doing a public health service of not spreading it among those who didn't get exposed to it yet. So you stay home, etc., and you're well cared for at home. And this is a child who I would imagine did not get immunized, and so if you find yourself getting worse, you go to the pediatric services. If you have a private pediatrician, then lucky you, you can go to that as well. But really, the the main thing that has worked public health wise is to stay out of the reach of the public. You know, stay isolated as a quarantining of you, and it is going to be um, something that you hope you can shut down. But nothing is as good as what you reported earlier on. You know, you get good immunization programs, and you can report that since 1991 we have not seen a case of measles. Isn't that much better? Then
That
here's
is
a
an
case for now.
outstanding.
Here's a case for now, or 5 cases. So now we must isolate them. I mean, by then the cow has gone out of the pen, the horse has gone out of the gate, and who knows who they have spread it to. And hopefully, those people have immunization and got their immunizations when they were children, so that the antibodies are around and fight it off. Because a lot of these illnesses, um, it's a whole different miserable experience when you have it as an adult. You know, and you can children seem to have a most children seem to have bounce back quicker than when an adult gets sick, usually longer and
Hmm.
so on. But um, most people are going to do well, and the body is going to find the antibodies to get them properly immunized. You know, so look at get you when you have a little baby, get a baby immunized. First, you're going to get one shot, and then they will be at 12 months.
One shot at
Uh,
12 months.
no, sorry, what? Yeah, they're going to get two doses, one at 12 months and the other one at um, 18 months.
Okay.
The
So when
MMR2, so 6 months apart. And the first one sensitizes the immune system, and the second one now is whips the immune system into producing a factory of antibodies. And it produces these cells that will remember that you have been exposed and so on. And that's one of the nice things about your immune system. It has a thing called chemical memory or cellular memory, and it will hang around there. And God has so fearfully and wonderfully made us that many, many things around us could have killed us, you know. But by being exposed to them from childhood, etc., our body, your body can be naturally immune just being exposed to nature to thousands of chemicals, thousands of agents like viruses and bacteria around. That's one of the reasons why you don't get sick when you're out there as a farmer working in the dirt and all of that. You're working in dirt which is full of germs, you know, earthworms, the excretions from earthworms, bugs and all of that. You know, there's the soil has all kinds of bacteria, but you have developed such a great immunity growing up as an active child, playing in nature and so on, being exposed. Your immune system has a memory of all of those things. And when you come, your immune system has soldiers dedicated, these protein soldiers dedicated to shutting them down and manage them and keeping them in at bay so that you go on and you hardly ever get sick or never get sick at all. Most of us, anyway. That's
All
the
right.
problem. That's the problem again with the HIV/AIDS people is that when they're depressed, that's when you realize how many things you were actually immune against when you were not depressed. Because when it's depressed now, then something simple that would be just living on your skin and no problem. You just use soap and water and wash off. Something simple like that can cause a pneumonia that can kill you. You know, that normally those bacteria just go through your body and there's no problem. The body can just breathe back out without booking into the hotel of your body and trying to have a vacation at your expense. You know,
I completely understand. So we're gonna take a short break right now, but before we do, I have a few trivia questions that I want our audience members to answer because I want to be sure that we are listening, everyone. Hello? All right, so I have three questions. Easy, easy if you were paying attention. So the first one is when should babies get immunized or get their vaccine for measles? At what ages should a child be immunized or vaccinated for MMR, for measles? The next question. I hope you're writing. Can choose which one you want to answer now. The next question. What are the complications or what are name one possible complication that is not death associated with contracting measles? And finally, true or false? Being well nourished plays no part in fighting illness. Being well nourished plays no part in fighting illness. Those are three questions. Pick your choose. I will be marking. I have a background in education, so I can give stickies very well. And on the other side of this break, we'll hear what you have to say, and then we'll get some final words from our very knowledgeable guest, Dr. Frankson.
According to a new American Heart Association scientific statement, having a pet might lower your risk of heart disease. A review of previous studies on the influence of pets on human health found that pet owners tend to have lower blood pressure and cholesterol levels, stress, and incidence of obesity. One study of over 5,200 adults showed that dog owners were 54% more likely to reach recommended levels of physical activity. That's a fact. But there's hope. As you consider your leisure time activities, think about the loving relationship you have with your dog. Not only can pets pull at your heartstrings, but they improve your heart health so you will live a longer and happier life.
Welcome back to Your Health and You. I'm Janelle Powell, and I've been speaking with Dr. Frankson, soaking in a lot of knowledge about measles, which not only affects children, but it can affect adults. And there is a vaccine available that is taken at the beginning, early stages of life. I'm not going to give you the answer that quickly. That is taken at 2 points in your life that will help your body remember what the virus is and prepare it produces antigens so that if ever in after that specific period of your life you contract measles, then your body will remember what it is to fight against it. So some of the notes that I have been making, and my notes are very jumbled, I'm not sure if you can see what it looks like, but the notes are making sense to me. So, measles, from my notes, is one of the most contagious viruses, but we've had it under control for a very long time. There are resurgences in parts of the world due to a low uptake of the measles vaccine. Anti-vaxxers is another way to phrase it. And so it's very important for us to guard ourselves against it using the technology that we have, because as Dr. Frankston rightfully said, getting measles in your adulthood is it's going to be a miserable experience. And so we don't want to put ourselves through that. It's also very important to, oh, I was going to give away the Tron Falls. Listen, I was going to give away the Tron Falls, no, but no, I caught myself. Measles also circulates in the air, and it's so contagious that if you are in a room with someone who has it and you're on the other side of said room, chances are you already have the virus. There are several complications, or there are a few complications that can arise from from measles. And so it's very important to understand what the signs and symptoms are so that you can get yourself to a healthcare professional who can help you fight this. There was something that was mentioned that I really want to bring Doc back into the conversation for. Because what do you mean measles parties? What do you mean measles parties? And it was something that was said in passing, but it just sounded so, I don't know. There's something about it that made me feel weird. Because you're gathering what healthy children to expose them to the virus to build an immunity to measles. Is that what's happening?
Yeah, and not only measles, they used to do it for smallpox too, and chickenpox. Used to willfully expose the children to it to get it over because they didn't have vaccines, so they
Mm-hmm.
used to do it. Um, the life expectancy of people was already short anyway, because um, we didn't even back in those days they didn't even understand that germs actually accidentally don't and can make you sick. They thought it
Mm-hmm.
was like the bad air. That's how you get the name like malaria or malaria. Mal means
Oh,
bad. They used to think of the air that got it. They didn't think the mosquito. They just thought the mosquito that bite them was just an annoyance and they slap the mosquito, but they didn't realize the mosquito was actually spitting out a parasite into under your skin that would
mm-hmm.
then go to the bloodstream and multiply and burst up the red blood cells, and then you get the fevers, the malaria fever, and all of that. They just thought it was bad air, and they talk about cold foods and hot foods and bad air. It was a more primitive time. We didn't have as much research and insight into what makes people sick, the pathology of things, you know.
Right.
And so they made up their own ideas. And even when Ellen G. White was writing some of her writings during those times, a lot of people didn't have an understanding. So one of the things that Ellen G. White wrote is that one of the best things that you can do for your health is to learn and keep up with physiology. Learn physiology and keep up with it because it really explains and brings you up to date as to what really is happening in the body based upon our best understanding at the time. And, it's so important to keep abreast of things, really important to keep on top of things. So, yeah, they used to do that. And they used to find that um, most of their children didn't get sick by the time they're ready to go to school because they gave them this thing early
Mm-hmm.
and they were over it. And if some died, a lot of children were dying anyway. So they would say, well, it's God's will that those children died, you know. And they didn't know about malnutrition and all of these things as well. They used to call
And
a
how long
famine a
ago was this?
plague up to maybe 100 or 200 years ago, because the germ theory just really caught on since the late 1800s, and so forth. And it's with the advent of the microscope and all of those things that we know, and especially an electronic microscope, that we can identify a virus now and all of that. So for most of humanity, we have been operating with the wrong theories, I mean, a lot of things. If you got epilepsy, if you got seizures, they would think you're possessed by the spirit,
Mm-hmm.
and they would honor somebody who had epilepsy as somebody who had bad vision, not knowing that it's actually short circuiting in the brain, that damaging the brain. So they used to call certain diseases spiritual diseases, like epilepsy and person who was epileptic, they would honor them, and the church would take care of them more than anybody else because those are people who went into a trance and saw God. And it wasn't that; it was actually that the person was having a life-threatening seizure and things like that. So we're coming from a far way,
That is
and
true.
we're in the last days now. Knowledge really has increased, and we're back and forth now trying to just do kinds of things. You can surrender to the devil, you're back and forth promoting the devil's cause. But if you're surrendered to God, you're back and forth, run to and fro, promoting God's cause. All of this God prophesied about through Jesus and so forth. So um, sin kept us back for thousands of years. Sin kept us in the dark, and the devil wanted it just that way. And
Hmm.
now, as Christianity has taken root more into around the world, Christianity has had a freeing up influence. Most societies that are prosperous around the world are Christian societies because it brings with it a freedom to even study your body and not make, you know, false assumptions about your body and the wholeness of what makes you a human being. Because now most of our scientific discoveries have been done in nations that are Christian, even if they were not done by Christian physicians. And don't get me wrong, several of our physicians are remarkable, not physicians, researchers. Several of our remarkable researchers have been also Christian. So that is the case. And we must remember that legacy that we have been given. We have been given a tremendous legacy to keep the freshest knowledge, to be aware about things so that we can actually help other people to find the freedom that we have found. Freedom to appreciate life and what really is going on, freedom to worship, freedom of even how the relationships that we have that can be chosen and healthy relationships and things like that. And freedom to even choose whether you want to get vaccinated or not. You know, um, I have to say this though, that because children are not of the age yet to decide, the government comes in with children. You're not going to see the government force adults to get measles vaccine, but you will see the government make rules to about children's vaccine because they're underage and they can't decide for themselves, and the parents are probably not informed. But they find out that the government now has to put the bill of parents who hold their children from these vaccines and get sick and not to treat them like expensive treatments at children's hospital or wherever else. So the government says, in my money you're spending, the money that I tax will come as the stewardship to put policies in to mandate that your child will get vaccinated, or we're not getting your child into school.
Hmm.
That's one of the harsh realities of a society in which we live. Our societies are free, but they're not totally free. And when they are free, they when they're not totally free and they mandate certain things, um, it's usually with a very noble agenda, the agenda of trying to save the society from bigger epidemics.
And these are very profound tidbits for someone who has been in the profession as long as you have. You have a lot of observations. And I hope that our listeners are taking what you're saying with more than just a grain of salt, because it is a reflection of the reality that we're living in. And like you rightfully said and shared and echoed, that Ellen G. White said that we should all pay attention to our bodies, get to know physiology, get to know
Yeah.
physiology so that we're able to
Mhm.
take care of ourselves. Like it was mentioned, being well nourished plays an immense part in how we're able to fight diseases. So while I'm here talking about general health and wellness, are there any, while I'm in the heights of measles, are there any home remedies that can help to accelerate the process in terms of recovering from measles?
Well, the main thing is this: treat the symptoms, huh? You're talking to somebody who was a little rascal when I was a boy. When my brothers and sisters got measles, up in Guys Hill there, I remember the week when we got measles. and we used to use Sloan's ointment. Sloan's is for sprains and all of that, right? But as a little boy, I got it in my head that if this thing can cause such a burning, that maybe it would stop the itching because the itching was driving us crazy. And so I went and I took the Sloans and I washed down all my brothers and sisters, and they all were all on fire. But the itching went right after that. Now, I would not recommend that now. I was just a mischievous guy trying to help my brother and sister. But what I would do now is I'd use things like, you know, you get cool down your skin. You use herbal baths. You could have your teas and your various things to drink and so forth. The used to use fever grass. We used to use my grandmother was a real natural medicine lady. And my mother had gone off to Monique Teachers College at the time to learn teaching. And we were left with grandma, or Sister Boyd, up in Guysville there. And she did her best with all kind of bushes to bathe us down in the bath pan. In those days, they had big bath pan. You'd even drop a little drop of Dettol in the water, just a little bit, and it would miraculously turn white. And
Mhm.
we would cleanse up. But the thing is, it's hard to say which one really worked because you're going to get better anyway.
Ah.
That's the thing. It's like the cold. People claim that this makes them get better with the cold, etc. But the truth is, it's hard to prove because you're going to get better anyway. You see? So it's really about, did it ease the symptoms?
Oh, okay.
Did it ease the itching and
Mhm.
so forth? But please don't try what I did, which was apply wintergreen and stones on it. And but you won't even have a chance because you're hardly going to see measles anyway in Jamaica now.
Mhm.
You know, the thing we must not do now is lose the gains that we have had. So we don't even need to use natural medicines now because we don't have the disease anymore. Now that's a dangerous thing, I must tell you, because if people decide to now stop vaccinating,
Mhm.
we now have those people would be among would be growing up in a community that never exposed them to even small doses of these things so that they could pick it up early and get the immunity, get the little soldiers. So if measles were to come into a community that is not vaccinated, we would see a far more severe disease because the body has been protected by vaccination and we have not been exposed to the virus for long. And that is one of the problems that we don't want to have. The same is true for smallpox. We have not had smallpox since I was a boy. Smallpox was wiped out. One of the first disease to have ever been wiped out. And the big thing now that we worry about is if somebody were to introduce smallpox like as a weapon, because the
Oh.
whole of our island, the whole of our continents, etc., do not have the antibodies to meet that smallpox and shut it down. It would have to go on the process of making it over 2 to 3 weeks, and many folks would actually end up in the hospital very sick. So you want to once you start on a vaccination program, it's wonderful and it prevents things, but you have to keep up with it because if you drop the ball, you're going to have cases, and the cases are usually not going to be an average case. They're usually going to be severe cases,
Okay.
especially if the persons were not nourished properly, if they're malnourished.
Okay. So I think we have maxed out our time, but it has been so insightful. There's a lot of information that you have to share. And we are grateful for the time that you've taken to let us know all about measles, what it is, what the symptoms are, what the treatment options are that are available, both natural and in the hospital, and letting us know the importance of taking the vaccine, not only that vaccine, but other vaccines, so that we can keep ourselves and others around us safe. These are old diseases, everyone. We don't need them anymore. Let's do our best to make sure that we are able to prevent measles from outbreak having causing an outbreak, y'all. Let's do the right thing. So thank you so much, Dr. Frankson, for your time. I am
Right.
going to wrap the program here. So this program is aptly titled Your Health and You. And something that will come up very often is measures that you can take to make sure that you are able to either treat, identify symptoms, or prevent yourself from or your children from getting any one of these illnesses or diseases. And it goes back to what was mentioned earlier. Ellen G. White encourages us to keep up with physiology. The onus some many times comes back, the responsibility comes back many times on us to care for ourselves, to make sure that we are always learning, always growing, always doing things, to make sure that we are living a whole life, that we have all of our sensibilities working together so that we're able to live a long, happy and healthy life. So your health is your business. It's almost like that instruction that you get on an airplane where you have to put on your oxygen mask before you put on the oxygen mask of somebody beside you, because how can you be of help if you are not in good health? And that's what I'm going to leave with you today. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to give you the answers to the questions. Don't worry. Don't worry. So, I asked, when should a baby get immunized for measles? And the answer is two times. At 12 months to sensitize the immune system, and then at 18 months to start producing antibodies for measles. I also asked what are possible complications of measles, and it includes pneumonia, swelling of the brain, early labor in pregnant women, and death. And also,
Also, ear infections. I left out ear infections.
ear
That
infections as a
yeah.
complication.
Mm-hmm. And
Ear
if you
infections.
don't manage your infections properly, they can spread to the brain and give you brain abscess and meningitis and all this kind of thing too. So try to avoid all of those by just staying immunized.
Y'all are hearing this, right? Y'all are hearing this? Anything that has to do with things going on in my brain, I'm just going to stay far away from. I hope you feel the same way. All right. And the final answer, being well nourished plays no part in fighting illness. True or false? It's got to be false. It's got to be false. It does play a an important part in helping you fight illness, because if you're well nourished, you have a balanced diet, all of the things that you need to support your body's natural systems are there. And so when you get additional help, your body thanks you for it. Thank you all so much for watching. Remember to share the video and share the information that you have learned here with someone in the office tomorrow, when your neighbor stops by for some sugar, in the taxi tomorrow, some way, somehow. Please share what you have learned here today so that we can keep ourselves healthy and happy. Next week, Thursday, we'll be focusing on irritable bowel disease. I feel like we're not going to focus on irritable bowel disease because next Thursday should be mental health. But please remember to share this video and remember to stay in good health. This was Your Health and You. I'll see you the next fourth Thursday. Bye.